So yesterday, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Koku Anyudoho, issued a statement that President Mahama was going to pick his nomination forms today at 1 p.m. A Vice President turned up and he picked a nominations form on behalf of President Mahama, and General Secretary of the party, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, says Mahama is the first to have picked up forms for the presidential slot. Meanwhile, staff at the party who sold forms to George Boateng have been relieved of their post.
Party faithfuls of the ruling National Democratic Congress thronged the Adabraka office in wait for President John Dramani Mahama's arrival to pick up forms to contest the presidency in the party's October primaries. But Vice President Kwesi Arthur turned up on Thursday noon, indicating President Mahama was ready for competition within the party.
The President is seeking this nomination with a deep sense of humility and of responsibility, seeking a renewal of his mandate as leader of this party and as the president of this republic. And we are confident that the people of this country will renew that mandate for him. Mr. General Secretary, we are not worried about internal competition. The President is confident that he will be victorious in the party selection process and expects that as a democratic party, other people may have ambitions for his position, but he does not begrudge them that ambition.
Addressing the Vice President, the General Secretary of the party insisted this was the first form for the presidential slot to be picked. Johnson Asiedu Nketia added, people who picked the form must be of sound mind as enshrined in the Constitution. Exactly a week ago, George Boateng picked forms to contest President Mahama, but the General Secretary said the laid-down procedure was not adhered to.
In the case of the presidential nomination forms, we indicated that the forms must be picked from the General Secretary of the party. Since we announced the guidelines, I'm pleased to inform you that this is the first time any candidate has approached my office to pick nomination forms. At any point, anybody is buying the form, we emboss the official seal on it, and all the pages are initialed by the General Secretary, so that nobody can fake the forms and nobody can do photocopies and present them to us as our official documents. So as at the time I was in Upper West, I was having custody of the party seal and I was still carrying my hand that will do the initialing of the forms. So it was practically impossible for anybody to purport to have picked forms from here.
Staff who were involved in the sale of the forms to George Boateng have been sacked.
Since our staff have been mentioned in this whole saga, we have taken firm administrative measures against them. So those members of our staff who were pretending to be general secretaries have been sanctioned, and you would not see them in this head office working again.
The party said so far the parliamentary nominations have been oversubscribed. Nominations end on the 10th of September.
We'll go on the phone line now because George Boateng has joined us. Very good evening to you, sir, and thank you very much for joining us.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Yes, you're live on TV3. Can you hear me?
Yes. Please, can you repeat your question again?
Oh, yeah. I want to get your thoughts on what the General Secretary said, that your form is not valid. How did you get your form?
What I would say is that in the first place, the General Secretary, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, have embarrassed the president totally. You could see if your reporter is at the headquarters to witness the ceremony of handing the form to president. Could you see the president there? The president was not at present because the president have very been embarrassed by the General Secretary Esiedun Ketia. So what the General Secretary is saying is not true. He's just throwing dust to the public. My form is original one, and what General Esiedun Ketia told me that I should bring my form for endorsement, which he had a seal in front of him. And I told him once Mahama have lay on the forms, I'm not going to return the forms to him. So what all he's saying to the public is throwing dust to the public. And the president
Mr. Boateng,
and the president have shown it. The president couldn't turn up at the show. So he make everything embarrassed to the administration because the president know that I have original form. And the president know that I have paid my fees. And the president know that he went and paid his fees before I went and picked my form. And the accountant is right. So the president have been embarrassed by General Esiedun Ketia.
Is that your opinion, or the president has expressed those sentiments to you, that he's embarrassed by Esiedun Ketia's actions?
Yes.
Yes,
the
meaning
what?
what?
Pastor House, and he was not able to come out. So they quickly sent for the vice president to come and represent the president. And even the vice president even embarrassed himself there. He said, the vice president said that they accept competition. So General Esiedun Ketia should allow competition to go on. That's what the vice president said.
But Mr. Boateng, hello, Mr. Boateng.
Me not to contest the president? Why are you preventing me not to contest the president?
Mr. Boateng.
One challenge.
Hello, Mr. Boateng.
Yes, please.
Yes. Really, I don't think it's about competition. It's about following laid down regulation, rules and regulation. And you said in your submission, you did mention in your submission that Esiedun Ketia had contacted you that you returned the form for him to put the seal on.
Yes. That have brought the debate between me and Esiedun Ketia. The heat of the whole thing is that their earlier plan is to block me not to have access to the form. But they failed. Plan couldn't work. The administrator reviewed the secret to me earlier on with the plan that they were planning to block me. But I was very faster and intelligent. So I quickly move fast to have my form. Before Esiedun Ketia realized I've already have my form. I've received my form, which is original. That's the original one with the plan. And it is the accountant who went and print it. And it is the accountant who drafted it. And it is the accountant who went and paid for the president nomination fee. So it was the same accountant who told me that the president paid his nomination fee on last Friday. So the accountant is right. The accountant is including the administration. They are all right. So what I said doing is he's just throwing dust to the public. So
Mr. Boateng
is saying that what the administrator have done is wrong, then he should bring both the administrator, WO, and the accountant, Wilson, all to the press, so that the press will question the two of them, the two officials, which Esiedun claimed that he have dismissed them. He should bring them to the public dominion so that the public will question them. Why did you release the form, the presidential nominee form, to George Boateng? Who gave you the instruction to release the presidential nominating form to George Boateng, so that the public will know the truth? Now the truth stand is that who is speaking the truth? Is it Esiedun Ketia or George Boateng? So the people in the center of the case is WO and the accountant. The accountant is the main person who handed over the form to me, and he is in charge of the money received.
All right, George Boateng, I think you're. Hello,
account number to
hello,
me.
George Boateng.
So Ketia is
Mr. Boateng.
The public. So Sedu Ketia, I challenge Sedu Ketia. You should bring the two officials to public domain so that the press could question the two. How and who gave them authority to release the presidential form to George Boateng?
All right.
I want the press to question Sedu Ketia.
All right, Mr. Boateng, your point is well made. Hello, Mr. Boateng. Mr. Boateng.
The two officials to public
All right,
domain.
I'm afraid I would have to go on with my questions, but Mr. Boateng.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I would appreciate it if you kept your answers a bit short for us so we can move on with the conversation. So currently you're filling your form and you would submit your form. Is that you're still in the race?
Yes, I'm still in the race. So I want the whole public to know that I'm still in the race. And I've started my campaign underground. I've started my campaign. My coordinators are with the grassroots and they are working very hard all across the 10 country, the region. So very soon, all my form will be endorsed and I will submit it. If he refuses to accept it, then I will go to the law court to challenge the Sedu Ketia.
All right, thank you very much.
Or I will go to the court so that the court will put injunction on the whole election.
Thank you. Thank you very much for talking to us. Mr. George Boateng says he went through the process, he paid his money, and he did not break any rules and regulation as purported by the General Secretary, and that is a facade. Just a show being put on by the General Secretary of the NDC. Already, a lot of you on Twitter are tweeting at me. I'll be reading your thoughts very, very, very soon. It's news on TV3 or at news at 10 or tweet at me, Bridget_02. We'll also try and speak to a local governance expert on the developments, with the way things are going on within the NDC. With just the picking of nomination forms, whether the NDC has handled it very, very well. We have David Agbe on the line. He's a local governance expert. A very good evening, and thank you very much for joining us on News at 10.
Yes, good evening, Bridget.
All right. First, I just spoke to George Boateng, and he admitted no wrong and is insistent that he's going to fill the form and submit it. Should the General Secretary refuse to accept it, he intends to go to court. My question to you, what do you see playing out here?
I see clearly through a certain clear, if I could say, administrative error. In public administration, some of these things shouldn't have happened at all. Every organization has what we call organogram. And so when you come to a political party like NDC, the General Secretary is the head of the administration and he is a spokesperson of the party. And so all these things fall within his ambit for him to give directives such that people could do what is right. People should know their clear job descriptions. People should know their clear mandate and their responsibility, so that when they are acting, they will act based on instructions. When people delegate powers to them, they will know that, yes, there is somebody who has actually delegated responsibility. And so in the architecture of the NDC, one could say that certain things are not being, shaped properly. It is not this mistake alone. You recall that it got to a point that the national organizer, Mr. Kofi Adams, addressed a certain press conference, which Kwaku Anyidoho, the deputy regional secretary, came to counter it that Kofi Adams shouldn't have done that. So you could really see clearly that some of them need what we call orientation for them to know exactly what is their responsibility and what is their mandate, so that when they are executing their mandate, they will do it perfectly because instruction has been given. But in this case, when you looked at the Article 44 of the NDC Constitution, which is recently amended, the G which stipulates that the National Executive Committee shall, in consultation with the Council of Elders, issued guidelines regarding the election of presidential candidates based on provision of this article. So it is indicated here clearly that the National Executive Council has to issue a certain directive, and one would like to question whether that directive has actually been issued and whether Mr. George Boateng has actually committed an error, or it is the General Secretary, Honorable Johnson Sedun Ketia, who is responsible for every administration, which he one way or the other, he has, caused all these problems. But I know Honorable Johnson Sedun Ketia is a very astute politician, and he knows administrative work so much. Having worked in the bank and worked as an MP, as a minister, he has all this information at disposal. But I think that there has been some fraud as far as administrative work is concerned.
Okay. And Sedun Ketia stated categorically that those within that chain have all been relieved of their post. Why do you think it's important to do that, for the NDC to do that?
Bridget, it tells you clearly that there hasn't been a proper, defined job and job description for everyone, for everybody to know that this is what I am supposed to do if I am the administrative manager, if I am the finance officer, if I am the campaign coordinator or organizer or deputy secretary. There should be a well-defined job description for everybody, so that one way or the other, somebody need not to step into the other toes. And this one, it is clearly showing that there hasn't been proper, defined job description for, each of them. And so you could see that administratively, certain things has, been done wrong, and they need to amend their records very well. They need to do more of job orientation, trying to take people through political architecture so that they will be able to understand the dynamics of today's politics. And don't forget that they have a new, party headquarters, and that party headquarters, they should have a proper channel and means of sharing ideas, means of even shaping, discourses, such that everybody will be able to follow and know that this is my obligation, and I have an obligation to perform a certain task. So I think that administratively, certain things, is quite, lacking, which they need to quickly, change to do what is acceptable in today's modern democratic way of managing party affairs.
Okay. For the George Boateng, when I spoke to him, he said the accountant had told him that President John Mahama had paid his nomination fees the Thursday before. I would assume that he meant last Thursday. Why do you think he was obviously talking to the staff, trying to know what was happening and the likes? Is it because he also wants to play to the gallery, be part of the show? So it's not just about the president, but he's also he's recognized. People see him, and so he chose his timing well.
In fact, David, to be honest with you, I don't see Mr. George Boateng, I do not see him as somebody who has that level of pedigree to contest with the current president. He doesn't have the wherewithal. When he talks about educational background, when he talks about experience in terms of governance, in terms of even leadership qualities, I could see a certain huge, deficiencies when Mr. George Boateng speaks. You could realize that his views are quite a bit disjointed left and right. But whilst we are in a democracy and the person qualifies as a party member, they should be able to communicate creatively such that everybody will know what he is supposed to do as a constituency organizer or a ward organizer. Is he qualified to even question or contest the president? If he is qualified, why are they saying? Why are they denying him? If he is not qualified, Honorable Johnson Sedun Ketia should be able to negotiate with this gentleman. I don't believe that, arguing and battling with this gentleman on the public domain, it doesn't sit well. And I will, appeal to the General Secretary that at least he should be able to calmness down by sitting down with Mr. George Boateng and tell him that, Mr. George Boateng, we appreciate you so much. You belong to the party. But here is the case that you cannot be our president. The party needs a very solid candidate who can actually champion the cause. And don't forget that NDC has a certain agenda as an organization. They have a certain vision that they earmark for themselves, that they want to win a political, they want to win a 2016 election. So is Mr. George Boateng competent enough to beat the opponent, like Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, which every Ghanaian will believe that no, Mr. George Boateng does not qualify. He doesn't dare. He's not known. He's not popular. In political wise, he's not somebody who has what it takes to be able to become even the president of this country. I know, Bridget, you will never vote for Mr. George Boateng, but this is a political party that the person belongs to. What can they do to negotiate with Mr. George Boateng such that he will understand that although he has shown interest, but he is not qualified to become a president of this country. And I think that Mr. Johnson Sedin Katia, Honorable Johnson Sedin Katia, must be able to do that. And I know him very well that he should be able to do that, to serve the interests of their own political party.
All right, and David, even before you go, but does it really matter? I mean, regardless of his background, education, political experience, and the like, does it really matter who picks a form first, really?
Bridget, having followed politics for a reasonable period of time across the world, I could say that before somebody comes into the public domain to contest as a presidential candidate, you need to be a very solid person. You need to have a certain reasonable leadership qualities that people could actually measure you and say that, yes, you are well defined to become a presidential candidate. So people will assess you based on your personal characteristics as a leader. They will assess you based on your physical, abilities. They will assess you based on your intelligence and ability. And even social, ability. People will actually assess you whether you are actually qualified to be able to, contest and become a leader of a country. So, I mean, looking at all the variables that I made mention about, I don't see Mr. George Boateng. I know he has the interest and he has the courage, but there are certain, disadvantages, and I could say that I don't see him in that camera. I don't see him in my laboratory when I'm doing an analysis about a presidential material. I want to see him in that laboratory where we could actually test and see that he has what it takes to become a presidential material that Ghanaians will actually say that, yes, this person is like a mirror that everybody could say that, yes, this person is the material that could even represent the country at international level. Don't forget that it is not local, but he has to represent the country in international level, in UN Assembly, in all the important organizations across the globe. So I don't think that when we put Mr. George Boateng on a certain scale, he doesn't qualify. And I'm sorry to say that he is not quite deserving to become a president of this country.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for talking to us, David Agbe.